Oh, and of course, I'm not ready for this yet. Here we go.
Coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I am your host, as always, Coach Steve. We are back in for start and sits for week 2, guys. We are already in week 2. It's going way too fast already. But the whole crew is back together once again here. Coach Gibbs, what's going on, brother?
Ain't much. I'm ready for this Thursday night football game. And I'm pretty happy. I took some fantasy L's this week, but I did win some money. So thanks, Vegas.
That is a good thing. That is a great thing. But I mean, I did beat you in our college league, so I was pretty happy about that. So good start to my season there. And of course, Coach John is back as well. What's going on, John?
Nothing much. Just another beautiful day. I'm ready to see some fireworks tonight. So we get ourselves a absolute slugfest of a game tonight. So I'm excited. Awesome.
Loving it. So guys, like I said, we're back together. We're talking starts and sits. In terms of news, there's not too much. And of course, I didn't put it in the notes in time here, but a couple things. Keenan Allen's out tonight. So if you're listening live right now, make sure you move Keenan Allen out of your starting lineup. A couple no practices today. Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, Mike Evans, George Kittle, Michael Pittman Jr., Alvin Kamara, Wanda Robinson, KJ Hamler, T. Higgins, DeAndre Swift, and Mac Jones all did not practice today. I guess real quick, is there anyone that stands out to that for you guys?
I mean, it's crazy because it's hard to tell this early in the season who's getting like a veteran day off and who's, actually injured and who's actually hurt. So I think the biggest ones is just the Bucs pass catchers in general, because they're all seem to be banged up right now. So I'm just keeping an eye on that situation because you got no Godwin for sure. And then it looks like Evans and Julio are very questionable. So.
And I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara and Michael Pittman because they did practice in the limited fashion on Wednesday, and now they didn't practice on Thursday. So, I don't know what's going on there, but hopefully they have some availability for Sunday and everything goes all right.
All right, yeah. I'm kind of one with you, Jibs, Alvin Kamara, Michael Pittman, and obviously the Bucs guys, I think, really stand out. DeAndre Swift has not practiced this week, but they keep saying he is good to go. So we will see how that turns out.
But Najee treatment.
Najee treatment, probably, yeah. Najee got a full practice in today, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, so which is a good thing, or limited, one of the two. He got an upgrade, that's all I know. Usually Fridays are the day we find out who's playing, who's not, for the most part. So especially those who didn't practice all week. So that's about it for the news, guys. Again, there wasn't anything crazy, especially from now since the last day we were on. And we'll kind of get right into things today. So let's see here. All right. Who wants to go first today?
I'll let Jibs go.
All right, Jibs.
I have my document up, but I'll go first.
All right.
We're doing
sleeper
RBs.
RB for week 2, Jibs. Who's your first sleeper RB?
I'm gonna go with Jamal Williams. He did get 2 rushing touchdowns last week. It kind of seemed like I was watching the game, so it kind of seemed like DeAndre Swift had like an explosive run, and then he was kind of dogging, and then they took him out of the lineup, and Jamal Williams was able to capitalize, gaining good yardage in the red zone and falling close to the 1. So I think even if the DeAndre Swift plays, he's definitely a good sleeper running back to play in, because I don't know, with these 2 practices, I still think Jamal Williams will get a decent load and might have an impact on Swift's production.
And I like that one a lot there. Obviously, he snuck those 2 touchdowns from Swift this past weekend. So, I mean, he obviously had the opportunity in the goal line area to work while Swift kind of deals with the 20s heavily. So, definitely a good matchup overall. Love that one there. Jibs, Coach John, who do we got as our first sleeper?
I don't know if he's considered a sleeper, but I'm going to say Damien Pierce, because I think he had a down week 1. He had a kind of a sketchy look. Rex Burkhead outsnapped him and outproduced him, but Lovie Smith came out and said that they need to get him the ball. They need to get him more involved, and I think that that's definitely something that they're going to do. And they know that Rex Burkhead's not the future of the franchise. They need to see what they got in pieces and players, and so I think we'll see Damien Pierce's role evolve as the season goes. And we just saw Rashad Penny rip off some good runs against the Broncos. It's a tough matchup, but it's not an impossible matchup.
All right, no, I like that one as well. Honestly, I think he should be able to have a better game than we saw last week. So he was a sit for me last week, and it worked out. But this week, it's a little different there in the waters for sure. Like that. And speaking of last week, I didn't actually mention this before we started doing the show, but I wanted to give our records for last week's starts and sits. Me and Jibs both finished with a 6-6 record.
Nice.
Overall. Could have been better from both of us. I think Jibs's worst one was Justin Jefferson as a potential, not as high as number 1 overall in the week.
Yeah. Yep.
He's just so good.
I didn't want to take like the low hanging fruit. So hey,
I respect it.
He's awesome.
Yes, man. My sleeper wide receivers of Nico Collins and Randall Cobb were not ones to brag about. That's for sure. So, and
Christian Kirk though.
Christian Kirk was a good one. Yes, it definitely was. And our guest from last week, Billy, he was 3 for 9. So not the best Billy, but it's all right. But he did call Kyle Pitts and CeeDee Lamb this past weekend. So that's a good thing. So shout out to him. But back to the sleepers here, back to RB sleepers here. I will give my first RB sleeper this week, and it's Ramandre Stevenson. Ty Montgomery, who played 37% of the snaps in week 1, saw 4 targets, now on the IR. And last week, the Pittsburgh Steelers allowed Joe Mixon to have grab 7 targets. And Mac Jones is not 100%. I would assume that they're going to probably try to get the ball out of his hands very quickly, which would mean likely dump offs. And I think Ramandre Stevenson will get that passing downs work. And with an increased playing time, should be in for a pretty solid fantasy day. So if you have him, good chance to start him in the flex option. So,
damn you, Steve.
I got the first steal of the day. So Jibs, give me your third sleeper then.
I'll go with Chase Edmonds just because we saw the Ravens face the Jets last week, and we saw Michael Carter and Breece Hall have a ton of catches. I don't know if it's specifically just Joe Flacco just being terrible and can't throw it downfield, but still, if these running backs caught basically like 18 or 17 passes last week, I don't think Chase Edmonds probably could catch a lot of passes. So we saw him use in the game plan, like he was a rusher, like we did see Tua pass to him. So I think he'll have a good matchup to exploit this week and could be a good flex running back and maybe RB2 this week.
Yeah, I'm hoping for big things for Chase Edmonds, especially with the Jets running backs were able to do last week against the Ravens. Hopefully Chase Edmonds can take all that passing volume and put it into a big fantasy day. So like that. Coach John, what do we got for your second sleeper?
I'm going to go with Dontrell Hilliard. I think, he showed a little bit of promise. He showed some juice. Everyone loves Derrick Henry, and we all love Derrick Henry. He's great. But, they need weapons in general. It's obviously, Treylon Burks is coming through. He's growing as a development player. I don't know what's left of Robert Woods, but they need someone to catch balls and catch passes. And I think Dontrell Hilliard is going to fill that role a little bit. I'm not chasing the touchdown production. I don't think he's going to score. I think he had 2 touchdowns. I don't think he's going to do that every week, but he is someone that you can flex start and hope he gets in the end zone, but he's going to see, 6, 7, 8 targets and then get a handful of carries. And so that's useful. And then you hope he gets in the end zone. And against the Bills, not a great matchup, but it should be. I mean, they're going to be behind. They're going to need to score points to keep up with Josh Allen.
That is true. Definitely an interesting option. He did not practice today, though, so just keep that in mind.
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that news.
I just didn't see that. I love following the 32 beat writers on Twitter. Gives me a lot of great information there. So, but if he does play, there's an opportunity for him for 100%. It could just be a rest day, but he's not a young sprout anymore. I think he's like 25 or 26, so he's not as young as many people might think. But he's been in the league for a little bit of time. So, All right. So over to my second sleeper for the day. I'm actually choosing the other Dolphins wide receiver, Raheem Mostert. Basically, most of everything that Jibs had already said about the Ravens defense here. They allowed 150 all-purpose yards to the Jets, and while Raheem Mostert only had 1 target last week, it was for 16 yards. So, by the way, the Ravens defense is playing against running backs. Raheem Mostert might only need 1 or 2 targets to be able to kind of just do a lot of work here. And I think Miami, just in general, since wants to establish the run. So Raheem Mostert might end up having a really good fantasy day for us. And that's my second sleeper of the day. So let's get on to some wide receiver. Gosh, RB bust now. God, I'm tired, guys. I see him having my coffee. RB bust there. Guys that we're down on this week, guys, who might maybe not finish 1 overall, but maybe 3, Jibs. So who do you got as your first bust of the day?
Well, I wrote it before I saw the injury, but I put Kamara for mine. Like, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I know they signed Latavius Murray, but that was pretty much for the Mark Ingram being missing in practice and whatnot. And like we mentioned before, like the limited to not practicing on Thursday is never a really good sign. But even if this is just my thoughts, if he plays, like I still think he'll probably split with Murray. And Alvin Kamara isn't like historically great against Tampa Bay. He has like a 3.9 yards per carry average. He only scored 7 touchdowns in his career versus them. And there's a lot of more passing outputs for Jameis Winston. So I don't think he's going to get that reception total that we're all kind of gathering for. So it's going to be a hard day in the books for Alvin Kamara if he plays. So I'm kind of down on him this week. Outside top 12.
No, I mean, I honestly had him as an idealist person to be possibly having a down week outside of the injury in general. It's a tough matchup. It could be a really bad game for Kamara. So even if he does play, I'm still not totally confident in his ability, especially with a rib injury. One hit, and that could just really ruin his fantasy day. So that's a good one there. Jibs, Coach John, what do we got?
I'm going to go with Leonard Fournette. He's a little banged up. He's not going into the game totally healthy, and he's playing against a tough front in the Saints. I don't think this is going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. I think the over-under is a little high, in my opinion. Let me just double check it. But it was 44. So, I mean, it's like, and I would bet the under in that game. And so I think it's going to be a tough defensive battle between two teams. There's not a lot of healthy, pass catchers in the Buccaneers. So it's just if you don't have a fully healthy Leonard Fournette, who is not going to see a lot of red zone work, I just think that it could be a tough day. You might see 12 for 60, and it's like, it doesn't do much for you. You catch a couple balls here and there. It's just, you're going to be under that 15-point threshold that really, to me, is like a legit top-tier running back start. Yeah,
I mean, I think what we saw from Cornell Patterson last week was a fluke on that, that Saints front seven there. I think overall Leonard Fournette's going to have a little bit of a tougher day for fantasy, especially if the Bucs can't get going on offense with all these injuries piling up here. It could be a really bad Bucs Saints game this week. I'm not a fan of it. So,
and the one thing Cornell Patterson has going for him is he's a legitimate pass catcher. I mean, they'll spread him out and he'll run routes. Like, they won't do that with Leonard Fournette. He'll catch a couple dump offs and he might catch some stuff over the middle, but he's not the pass catcher that Cornell Patterson is. And so I think that, and also week one, I think the Saints got caught off guard a little bit by the Falcons. They're not going to go into this game with the Bucs the same way.
Right. I respect that for sure. We did get a question on Twitter just now under our live stream here from Jason on Twitter. Hey guys, would you go with CEH, obviously playing tonight, Kareem Hunt, or CeeDee Lamb at the flex spot, half-point PPR?
Oh, wow.
That is a tough one. Lamb's obviously playing who? Okay, I can't think of who they're playing this week. Dallas. I know
they're playing the Bengals.
They're playing the Bengals. The Browns are playing the Jets, and obviously Clyde's playing tonight. So who do you guys have in half-point PPR here?
I mean, I know this is going to sound crazy because the snaps and, the targets and all the opportunities weren't really there. It was a lot of touchdowns, and one of the touchdowns was a broken play in the flats, but I'm going to go with CEH. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I'm going to take the opportunities at touchdowns. I think that there's, the reason why Isaiah Pacheco got so much run in the fourth quarter was because they were just beating the bag out of Arizona, but this is going to be a tighter game. It's going to be a little bit closer. So I expect CEH to get more work and give me the better offense and the higher over under.
I agree with John.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's tough. It's a tough one.
For me, that Kareem Hunt, that could have went, I know he's a great player and he deserved both those touchdowns with his phenomenal work, but I could see Chubb getting touchdowns this week. And CeeDee Lamb, I had to see it with Cooper Rush, just 1 week. I don't want to do a Hail Mary. I know he's your top pick and whatnot, but it's you're leaving yourself on a limb there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think overall, I think CeeDee Lamb's out for me in general this week. I want to see it with Cooper Rush. I know we saw it one game last year, but this Bengals defense is really good. They kind of shut down the passing game, the whole offense for the Pittsburgh Steelers anyway. It's not the best, but I mean, now you have it similar to what the Cowboys are now similar to what the Steelers are. They have no great quarterback and some great weapons. So I wouldn't want to start CeeDee Lamb. I mean, the targets were there, but again, different quarterback, different situation. And it comes down to Clyde or Hunt. And in a matchup that I expect to be more high scoring compared to the Browns versus the Jets, I would rather take the shot on Clyde tonight and hope that usually Thursday Night Football running backs do perform better, especially on the run game. But this is also a matchup where it should be very high scoring. We should have a 35-32 finish. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire should have that upside to see receptions and also just see work on the ground. So Jason, I said, thanks Clyde Edwards-Helaire all around for all three of us. So thanks for tuning in, my friend. All right, so back to my first bust of the day here. I'm going to go with Derrick Henry, 100%. You know, Derrick Henry had a lot of volume last week, which is fantastic for a running back, but 3.9 yards per carry. I mean, you saw him get trucked by one of the defenders. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he got trucked. I mean, Derrick Henry is supposed to be the one doing the trucking. And, you know, this is a tougher matchup against the Bills. The Bills have a fantastic front seven. Their front seven is dominant. And you saw what they were to do against the Rams this past week. Henderson had 46 yards at most, and then obviously Cam had nothing. So for me, I just don't know much opportunity unless Derrick Henry scores. I could see another similar game where he's 20 for 80 or whatever he was this past week. And that's about it. And without the touchdown, because I don't think the Titans offense has that upside that they've had in the last couple of years. So for me, Derrick Henry is my first bust of the day. All right, Jibs, who do we got for round two here now?
For my second pick, I'm going with Aaron Jones, and it's basically based on his usage. And he was used as a receiver more than as a running back, and I expect the Packers to be, I guess, more in the game against the Chicago Bears. But we also saw A.J. Dillon handle a majority of the carries. So another point is Packers without their starting tackles kind of concerns me on his rushing output, and the Bears only allowed San Francisco, a run-first team. Their two running backs have 41 and 22 yards, so like it's going to be a tough matchup for them. And I'm just a little down on them this week. They're still going to be phenomenal starts. I don't think you should remove them for your lineup. Just lower your expectations.
So you're saying both Packers running backs?
No, I'm saying Aaron Jones.
Oh, Aaron Jones. Okay, just want to make sure. I like it. I don't hate it. I mean, I got to start A.J. Dillon mostly everywhere because he's like my RB1 in most of my dynasty leagues. But that's my own fault. So, all right, Coach Don, what do we got for your second RB?
The second RB to me is Cornell Patterson. Cornell Patterson's got a tough matchup against the Rams. I think the Falcons are going to get their doors blown off. I think the Rams are pissed. I think they're embarrassed. They're coming home. Like, it's just not going to be this. The Rams have something to prove. This is a real gut check for the Rams. If the Falcons come out and start putting up points and make it a game and it's interesting, then I don't know. We have to we have to discuss the Rams as a whole. But I think the Rams come in, take care of business, shut down the Falcons. Falcons score maybe 10 points, 13 points, and they handle business. So to me, Cornell Patterson is an easy sit this week.
Yeah. I thought about him after I already came up with my first two options, and I was like, Cornell Patterson would have been a great option there because I just don't see him. From what I heard was that Damien Williams did get a little banged up early and midway through that game there, so they didn't really have many RB options at that point. So, I mean, you have to just continue to throw Cornell Patterson in that game there. I mean, I think Avery Williams was the other running back that was active, but I think he's more of a special teams guy. So,
sure,
you had to throw Cornell Patterson.
Tyler Algier will be active. I'm assuming Tyler Algier will be active this game if Damien Williams is out. And so, he's just, he's not going to get 100% of the volume. The only reason why I get nervous is because Cornell Patterson he's that athletic of a freak where he could take a play into the house, but I just don't see it against the Rams. I just think the Falcons are going to have a tough day.
Right. Exactly. I'm all right there with you, John. All right. So for my second bust here at the RB position, I'm going with a guy who I said last week would be a bust, and it's Dave Montgomery. Last week, that was one of my wins from last week, so I'm happy about that. But Montgomery has the Packers this week, and the Packers did give up 90 yards to Dalvin Cook, but it also required Dalvin Cook to get 20 carries in that game to get to 90 yards. And we all know Dave Montgomery is a volume back. He needs that volume to really stick it to the defense. And he had some of it last week, but he was poor with that. I mean, it was a bad weather game, blah, blah, blah. But, Khalil Herbert, he had 9 carries for 45 yards. That's much better production right there. So I really do believe they're going to really mix these guys in together. And I think Dave Montgomery, from where he's sitting at, like, I think it's like RB20 right now, I think on rankings. I mean, it's just, I feel like he's just going to be in for another bad game. This offense did not move the ball well. I think that, like the Rams, the Packers are probably pretty pissed on how they performed, and they've always done well against the Bears. I don't expect Dave Montgomery to be able to keep his production going this week, and I think I'm expecting another bad week from him. So that's my other bust. So, all right. So, Jibs, my friend, back to you. Wide receiver sleepers. What you got?
I'm going on a limb. I'm going to take Jarvis Landry. And I know it's going to be a tough game, regardless on both sides of the football, but I would love his usage. He had 124 air yards I saw in a tweet last week. And like Michael Thomas is still going to be getting back up to speed. So I think he's going to be a viable role for Jameis Winston as a person who's going to get, I guess, lesser coverage, because I know Carlton Davis probably be on Michael Thomas and vice versa. So I'm like Landry as a nice little wide receiver 3 flex play.
Right.
PPR leagues.
Of course. I was definitely surprised by his performance last week. I did not expect him to go over 100 yards in his first game with the Saints. So I definitely don't hate it. So, all right, Coach Sean, what do we got for your first sleeper wide receiver?
Sleeper wide receiver tonight. I want to get in as many players as I can. I'm trying to get as many pieces of this game as I can. And so I'm going to say Nicole Hardman. I think Nicole Hardman to me is a sleeper. He saw a little bit of volume that we expected. You know, they spread the ball around. Look, they threw it to 9 different wide receivers. There's going to be some spread around in this offense. It's not going to be, you know, the same that we saw where it's all through Tyreek Hill or it's all through Travis Kelce. Patrick Mahomes is going to spread the ball, but I think Nicole Hardman's skill set is downfield and big plays. And so he can hit one or two of those and all of a sudden makes your flex totally viable, where, you know, he hits a 50-yard bomb and then he gets a touchdown. And then all of a sudden you're like, the rest is gravy at this point. I don't need a ton of volume. I don't need a ton of points. I just need 2 big catches and I'm happy. So I'm going with Nicole Hardman. I think that's a big kind of deep bazooka flex.
Hold on. Sorry. I was trying to hide this, but I guess I can't yet. No, I like that one there, John. Honestly, I think Nicole Hardman, he actually had more targets than I expected him to do. And it was definitely interesting to see if he can really step up and do something in this matchup. Again, you said it should be a shootout potentials matchup here for sure. So I like that one. All right. My first wide receiver sleeper, right? Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm like all over the place trying to do like 5 things at once here. My first one, I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins, you know, he's dealing with that concussion. I think he should be okay, but you just don't know yet. We haven't seen him get cleared by the concussion protocol yet, but Tyler Boyd should be in for a pretty solid week overall. He'll be in for a great week if T. Higgins is out, obviously. But the Cowboys this past week, they let up yards to the slot wide receiver. Chris Godwin was eating them up prior to him leaving the game due to injuries. And I think there could be another situation where they really want to throw the ball and get that going. And I think Tyler Boyd, as strong as he is in the slot, should end up having a pretty solid performance. Again, it wasn't too crazy in week 1, but he should still be able to produce something similar to that. So if you're looking for, I think, a pretty safe floor play, I think Tyler Boyd has that potential as a sleeper this week. All right, so on to sleeper number 2 here. Jibs, what do you got?
I'm going to go with another veteran receiver in Zay Jones. I loved what I saw out of him. I love the connection in the preseason as well with him and Trevor Lawrence. He had 9 targets, 6 receptions, 65 yards. He played more snaps than Marvin Jones, who's been there for eons. So I think he is a wide receiver 3 on the team in the depth chart, but I believe he's a wide receiver 2 on the team going forward. So I think he can kind of duplicate some of what he did week 1. So I like him as my sleeper this week.
All right. I like Zay Jones. I think people have him super underrated. I think he is going to be a big part of this Jags offense here. I mean, he's younger. He's the outside wide receiver. He's going to have a role, and I think people are sleeping on it. It might not be a role where it's like gigantically big, but I think he'll have good target share every single week. So it's a good one. Good deep one, Jibs. I like that. All right, John, what do we got for your second sleeper?
This one feels so gross, and I hate doing it because I'm a Patriots fan. But I'm gonna say Chase Claypool. I think that they're gonna take care of, the Steelers. It's not the highest over under. It's not gonna be a great game, but the Patriots secondary looked shaky. Did not look great, and I think a big body, fast, someone like a Chase Claypool will give their secondary a lot of fits and give them a hard time. So if the Steelers can't run the ball, say Najee Harris can't go, they're not going to give Jaylen Warren 40 touches. They're going to try and win this game, throw the ball and move the ball in other ways, and Jaylen Warren will just be a complementary piece. So I think they're going to start going through the air, and if they go through the air, Chase Claypool has a huge advantage.
All right, I don't hate it. I'm not a big fan of Chase Claypool in a general sense, but the Pages do like to lock down teams where their number one target, and usually it's Deontay Johnson. So someone else needs to step up here. It could definitely well be Chase Claypool for sure this week. All right, so over to my last sleeper here. It's Isaiah McKenzie from the Buffalo Bills. They play the Tennessee Titans this week here. And, McKenzie, we didn't have the big game that we wanted out of him in week one, but I feel like this is definitely a better matchup overall than what the Rams were giving us last week. He played very well in the slot, even though he had a split time with Jamison Crowder. But Isaiah McKenzie is the more explosive, athletic type of wide receiver here. And we saw last week a guy like Sterling Shepard, well, he's injury prone, is definitely somewhat of explosive in his own way, kind of just beat the Titans defense a little bit there for that long touchdown. I see Isaiah McKenzie having a similar outing where he just gets one and he goes to the house with any time in this game here. So Isaiah McKenzie for me is another guy I like as a flexible option in week 2. All right, so over to the wide receiver bust this now. Jibs, who's your first wide receiver bust?
Mike Evans. He's just god awful against.
He's god awful.
God awful. And I even looked it up. In this 15 game versus the Saints, his team is 4-11. He had 87 targets, 48 receptions, 730 yards, and 5 touchdowns in 15 games. So that's not really good, my guy. So he's averaging about 6 targets a game, 3 catches, 48 yards, and a third of a touchdown per game. So that's not looking good in his favor. And you might ask, what's the PPR translate to? Well, not even good either, guys. He's averaging 8.2 fantasy PPR points per game in those last 4 games against the what is it? Sorry, I messed this stat up.
Come on, Jib.
Okay, the last 4 games with Tom Brady as a quarterback, he has 15 targets, 8 receptions, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and 32.8 PPR points per game. That's 4 games, so that's not good. So he's averaging 8 points per game. So yeah, I'm off on him. Sorry if I fudged the stats, but not really good. Not good.
The main course that Mike Evans is a bust or sit this week if you can. Mm-hmm. So don't hate it.
I think I have him ranked our wide receiver 16.
Well, the guy who finished 14th in Fantasy Pros week 1 rankings, I mean, man knows what he's talking about over there, guys. So
I'm trying.
He's trying to get on the leaderboard. So I did not finish very well. So maybe you shouldn't listen to me this week, but I'll bounce back this week. So Coach Don, back to you. Who's your first wide receiver bust?
I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit. Someone's going to say it, so I might as well be me. CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is the wide receiver bust for me. I mean, I think, look, with Cooper Rush coming in, he might see a ton of volume, but he saw volume when Dak was in there, and he didn't do anything with it. So I think that, we need to pump our brakes until CeeDee proves us wrong. I'm going to be off CeeDee Lamb with Cooper Rush, especially. I think the efficiency will be low. The volume, he might see 10, 11 targets, but if he has 3 receptions, who cares? So, I think there's not that there's better options, but we can't value him as this, locked and loaded wide receiver 1 going forward until proven otherwise. I was iffy on him going into the season at his price. And, I know it's only 1 week, but I'm nervous already.
Yeah. As we kind of mentioned before, yeah, definitely out on CeeDee Lamb this week if I can. So like that one there, John. On to my first bust here. It's Terry McLaurin. Last week watching Terry McLaurin have 4 targets, and he was 4th in the target order, made no absolute sense. But it might make sense for what this Commanders team wants to do. Get the ball out short and let their player makers make plays. Curtis Samuel makes plays with his feet. Jahan Dotson makes plays with his feet. Tanyon Gibson makes plays with his feet. Terry McLaurin is more of that downfield, go up and get it kind of player here. And we didn't see that out of them this week. Again, maybe they don't have the connection set up there yet. Maybe it might take a few weeks. Maybe it will come eventually. But the Lions this week, they did hold Devonta Smith and Quez Watkins to basically no yards, absolutely no yards actually in this game here. And A.J. Brown kind of worked out of the slot very often and did most of his work there. So guys like Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson could end up doing much better this week than Terry McLaurin. He's got to go up against Jeff Okudah for a former first-round pick. Could be a bad matchup here. Again, the connection just seems off for these two. They're definitely not having breakfast together, and I'm definitely kind of just out on Terry McLaurin this week. I want to see him put up a big game. So that's the way I feel about Terry McLaurin here. So before we get to our second round of busts, you got to talk about our sponsor here. No House Advantage here. I want to make it bigger. There we go. So No House Advantage is a new sponsor that we have for this month here of September here. And No House Advantage, they're changing the game by offering the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available today, guys. You play in their pick'em contest versus other players for a shot at $250,000 cash. Download the app, choose a contest, select the player prop, earn points for every correct pick, and climb the leaderboard for your shot at the big money every day. You can also test your skills against the house, and 20 times your entry if you hit all of your picks, guys. I mean, it's incredible. Bet up to 5 player props, over-unders, or individual player matchups across every major sports, including the NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, MMA, and NASCAR. Sign up with the promo code COACHES, guys, at nohouseadvantage.com or download the app at the app stores to get your first deposit match up to $25. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you check out No House Advantage today. Experience fantasy sports redefined, because it's just not how you play, but it's also where you play, and you don't want to miss out on this offer, guys. I used it over the weekend here. It was fantastic, very fun to do. Made a little bit of money, not a lot, but I made some money, and definitely fun. Try it out. Help us out. Help promote the show. We're hoping to have them sponsored for the rest of the year, and trying to help them out as well. So we appreciate if you guys sign up with our promo code COACHES. So that's our promo for the show here, guys. So back to the live action, guys. All right. Jibs, round 2 of your bust. Who you got?
Oh, my guy, Brandon Cooks. And I'm still starting him. I have him in a couple leagues just because he's a target hog for the Houston Texans. But I am concerned with his output this week because he's going to be facing a subpar corner on Patrick Surtain II. So one thing that Brandon Cooks has in favor with him is, I'm expecting Russ is going to cook this week, and they're probably going to be trailing, which will help him out. But I just going to lower my expectations. He was a guy I was higher on last week, kind of paid out. But this week, I'm just going to throw him behind a couple people. So that's my bust this week.
You better not bust. I have him in way too many leagues. Is what it is. What's going on, Kyle? Thanks for watching. As always, my friend, we always appreciate it. I got to get you on again sometime soon here. So, all right, Coach John, what do we got for your second wide receiver bust?
So this one is an interesting one because I think this player has, a growth in the future, but it's not he's going to have a bounce back game at some point, but it's not this week. And that's Darnell Mooney. I think Darnell Mooney to me is someone that I liked a lot. Preseason, he was going to see a lot of targets. Justin Fields was going to have to throw the ball a ton. It sucks. The first week you had him, it was a slop fest in the rain where they couldn't throw anything. And then the next week you get a pissed off Packers team. So I think it's going to be, if you want to buy low on Darnell Mooney, do it next week because he's going to have another tough outing. He's going to have another tough day. But I think there are better days to come for that team and for, the Bears and offense in general. It's just not going to be this week. I think he's going to probably put up another similar 2 catches for 40 yards, if that. And it's just going to be a tough day.
Yeah, I'm very upset about Darnell Mooney's bad week 1. Thankfully, I sat him everywhere because just wasn't sure of the rain, and I need him to bounce back big time. So hopefully he does that this week, but Coach John thinks otherwise. So I don't like it, but I respect it for a friend. All right. So
I appreciate it. And because it's not going to be Dante Pettis, I'll tell you that much. So it might be, if anyone burns me, it could be Darnell Mooney.
It's possible. So I hope so, but all right. So for my second wide receiver bust here, I'm going back to the well again. Rashad Bateman. I almost had him. He was like 1 for 4 for like 9 yards. And I was like, I got it. Bateman's having a bad week. He ends up that 50-yard touchdown and ends up having a decent fantasy day. But this week he gets the Miami Dolphins. And Lamar Jackson has only thrown the ball 30 times. And he spread it out pretty well. I mean, everyone's gotten like 4 or 5 targets. And I probably wouldn't be this down on Bateman if he had like a 7 or 8 target game, but he got 5. And a lot of other people got 4. So I don't really expect Bateman to be this guy who sees 8 or 9 targets in a game. I don't think the offense is going to be built like that. And he plays Xavier Howard on the outside. And Xavier Howard is a shutdown cornerback, not being biased as a Dolphins fan. But it's just a bad match. We saw Devontae Parker this past week. Nothing. No show. Nothing. I don't think Rashad Bateman's in for a really big game. And I expect another pre-50-yard touchdown performance out of Bateman in week 2, guys.
That's the worst when you call a sit and you're like, oh, you look good. And then it's like some garbage time play. And you're like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah, it's so annoying. Like,
hey, man, should have covered better.
That's fantasy, baby.
That sure is fantasy here. All right. So let's get over to the tight ends now, guys. Who's your one tight end this week, Jibs, you consider a sleeper?
Hayden Hurst. Same with your Tyler Boyd. And hopefully T. Higgins plays, but I'll still expect Hayden Hurst to do a little bit of something. He had 5 receptions for 46 yards. PPR leagues, you give me 10 points as a tight end. That's wasn't picked up. I'll take it. So he had a 15% target share, and it could go up, it could go down depending on if Higgins plays, but I still like the spot. Like, I feel like we didn't really see much from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tight ends because they were just throwing it to the receivers and the game was out of reach and running it. So I want to see if they actually can defend the tight ends, but I still expect Hayden Hurst to do a little something this week.
Yeah, actually really well game in week 1, honestly. Just that obviously got outshined by like Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon, but he had a pretty solid game for a tight end overall. Mm-hmm. He finished like tight end 12 or 13 this past week. It's not terrible. Coach John, what do we got for a sleeper tight end?
Sleeper tight end, I'm going to go with Robert Tanyon. I think Robert Tanyon is someone who, he saw a few targets. They're looking for anybody to be a veteran presence, a sure hand. I think they're going to really reassess, some of these deep shots they're taking with Christian Watson and stuff like that. And so, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to look more to, what's safe and Alan Lazard's going to be back. And so it might be, a little bit of these outlet valves to Robert Tanyon. And we saw a couple, and he's athletic enough that he can make yards after the catch. So I like him. He's not going to break a game open for you, but if you need somebody to start, he's going to see 4 or 5 targets, and you hope he falls in the end zone, and he could have himself a great week.
All right. Yeah, no, I think he really could. I thought he was going to have a big week 1, honestly, but obviously that whole
he started off great. The first couple plays, I was like sitting there watching, and I was like, oh man, like Robert Tanyon looks healthy. This is good. And, he had some wiggle in his game. He looked good, took a ball to the sidelines. But then the whole passing offense just went absolutely anemic. So
it's unfortunate for sure.
Yeah, which is rare with Aaron Rodgers. I'm not betting on that happening again, especially against the Bears.
All right. So we do have another fantasy question real quick here for someone who always hits me up with some questions here. All right. For tight ends, since we're talking about tight ends, I figured I would wait until now to talk about it. Gerald Everett or Taysom Hill, 0.5 PPR. Tyler Higbee is also available. Who you guys got?
I'm team Gerald Everett. I think Taysom Hill, he's good. He's a cool story. But he's not out there running as many routes as Gerald Everett. He's not going to be, as involved as in the passing game. It's just, he's very gadgety. And so it's hard to predict when that's going to happen because it's up to play calling. And so, when Taysom Hill gets his number called, they seem to go to him. They'll give him a couple rushes. They'll give him a couple looks in the red zone, but I'm going with, volume of snaps and routes run. And I'm going to lean Gerald Everett here.
I'm going to go Everett as well with Donald Parham out, with Keenan Allen out. Like in the short term, I think he could be a beneficiary to Justin Herbert. And I put a bet in for him to score a touchdown today. So let's go. And I personally picked him up in plenty of leagues where I had like Cole Kmet, so like a tight end that you're kind of skeptical on. So I think he's a perfect ad for those kind of managers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to start Gerald Everett this week. I mean, Keenan Allen, they're going to need more weapons. Everett was a big target share, and I think he might have led the offense in targets, to be honest, or was tied or something like that. But it should be a matchup where he gets involved. I mean, Zach Ertz caught a touchdown this last week against the Chiefs. I expect that Everett has a similar performance, but also Tyler Higbee honestly isn't a bad option either, but definitely Gerald Everett. So, All right, so let's get over to my sleeper at the tight end position, and it's a deeper sleeper, and it's something that Billy brought up last week here. So I don't know if I should be going with this option. Billy, no disrespect. Isaiah Likely, guys. Isaiah Likely, he was a sleeper last week for Billy, and I can see why. He had 4 targets in this game, but didn't catch any of them, unfortunately. I think week 2 could be a little bit different for him. I know I said he said Rashard Bateman, but Likely isn't going to go against Xavier Howard. He's going to be in the middle of the field against Miami's defenses, the linebackers who are, decent and mediocre. They're not the best linebacker core ever, but I think Likely could end up having a couple nice snags while the defense kind of focuses on Mark Andrews and Bateman, obviously. So for me, Isaiah Likely could end up finishing as a top 15 tight end this week. I like the target share. I'm hoping this week he can actually connect with them. So, All right. So let's go over to the tight end busts. Jibs, who you got as a tight end bust?
I'm going to go with Dawson Knox, just like your point to Isaiah McKenzie being more involved. I just feel like the wide receivers are just too involved in this offense, and he didn't really have that good output in week 1, and I'm just not going to be relying on him to score a touchdown. So I'd rather go with the Gerald Everetts of the world and kind of go in there.
All right, that's a simple, easy answer, honestly.
8% target share there.
He was my guy, but simple, easy answer. I like it. Coach John, what do we got for yours?
I'm going to say George Kittle. I think George Kittle is someone who is still a little banged up. It's iffy when he's practicing and all these things. And I don't want to be the first game back off of an injury. I just don't. And so, especially soft tissue things, he is the type of guy that is powerful, quick, makes you miss, doesn't make you miss, but he'll run through you. And it's like, I just don't see that type of production coming off of a groin injury. It's just going to be hard. So, give him a game or 2 to get back to game speed and get up to rhythm and get in the offense. But his first game back off a groin, I'm out.
Okay. All right. I respect it there. I'm definitely not comfortable starting him right now. That's for sure. So Jibs took my tight end bust here. Definitely a tough decision here now what to go for.
Go high.
I'm going to go TJ Hawkinson.
Let's go.
He's sitting right now on the rankings as tight end, if I'm not mistaken, 7. And what I saw him out of this week, I mean, he's just not the focal point of this offense. It's Swift, the run game, and it's Amar St. Brown, which I'm thrilled about. But TJ Hawkinson, I don't know if he's going to see that 8 or 9 target share on a week-to-week basis. So I think he should be more in that. I don't think he's in line with that almost to the elite. He's more in line with that tight end 9 to 15 or 25 that are all kind of mixed in a little bit that we're just not sure what's going to happen on a week-to-week basis here. This was a matchup where last week the Commanders kind of held the Jags tight ends under 30 yards, if I'm not mistaken. I think Evan Ingram had 28 yards. I think this is going to be a game where they run the ball, and St. Brown and Shark actually end up having a much better day. And I think Hawkinson ends up having another very mediocre tight end day for what a tight end would be able to do. So for me, I'm going to go Hawkinson. So, all right. So let's get over to the quarterback position. Final ones here, guys. Jibs, who do you have as a QB sleeper for week 2?
It pains me to say, but I'm going to go with Carson Wentz. But like last week, like Jalen Hurts, like we texted before the game or while the game was going on, and Jalen Hurts didn't look that spectacular in the beginning, but he kind of he heated up. But Carson Wentz had a spectacular game against the Jaguars, and if Jalen Hurts was able to get 240 yards against the Detroit Lions, I think Carson Wentz could be in store for another 250 plus, maybe another 300-yard game. So he has the receivers. we saw the Detroit Lions, even though they have some good corners, they gave up some chunk plays. AJ Brown over the top. Maybe you could see another Jahan Dotson deep play. Maybe Terry McLaurin could get his legs back. But I'm just feeling Wentz as like a streaming quarterback of this week. The guys who are pretty much left on the waiver wire in deeper leagues.
Hey, I think I'm starting him over Tom Brady this week, so I don't hate it, honestly. So it pains me to say that, but I think I am. I love what I saw out of Wentz last week. So, all right, John, what do we have as QB sleeper?
QB sleeper this week is Jameis Winston. I think Jameis Winston, finally, the Saints have multiple pass catchers. They have multiple options. Michael Thomas looked healthy. It's a tough matchup against the Buccaneers, but if you are going to beat the Bucs, it's through the air. It's not really on the ground. So I think that if the Buccaneers pass catchers become healthy, this could be there has a makings of being a higher scoring game. I don't predict that, but if all of a sudden Mike Evans is healthy, Julio's healthy, and then the Saints have to keep up, they showed Jameis Winston will do it in the second half. He'll throw the ball like he doesn't care. So I have a feeling that Jameis Winston, if he's up early, they're going to be fine and you'll have a decent day. And if not, then he's going to have to play catch up and you'll get a great day. So he's someone to me that I'm not scared starting. You have a pretty solid floor, and then there's upside to be had. But I can't believe I'm saying that, but there's upside to be had with Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I mean he's unpredictable, which could be a good thing for fantasy.
So unpredictable.
I love it. All right, so my QB sleeper this week was Davis Mills, guys. The Broncos let Geno Smith put up almost a QB1 performance in week 1. Honestly, I mean a lot of people had down weeks, but 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, it was good enough for Geno Smith, and Davis Mills looked like the best quarterback out of that 21 class right now. And I think he could have put up 250 yards and 2 touchdowns pretty easily and give you a pretty solid fantasy week overall. I mean, if anything, the Broncos are likely going to be up. The Texans are going to have to come back in this game and throw the ball. So for me, at the end of the day, Davis Mills has that sleeper status all locked up this week. All right. And finally, QB busts. Jibs, who you got?
Who else has Tom Brady?
I do.
Not me.
All right, Steve, I'll let you go. I'll throw in. But for my considerations, like he's just terrible. Against the Saints. Since he joined the Buccaneers, he's averaged 260 yards per game, 1.5 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's gotten sacked 3 times per game, and he only scored 15.2 fantasy points per game. Not in 6 point per passing touchdown. It's 4 point per passing touchdown. So call it what it is, and I just have I'm just getting remnants of that 9-0 defeat they had last December. So Dennis Allen's still there. I'm sure he's gonna have a hand in things.
Yeah,
and the Bucs aren't without the receivers. So
yeah, that's another major thing. Yeah, I was right there with you on that. Honestly, I think you basically said everything, and I was gonna say. I mean, he averages more interceptions than touchdowns against the Saints since being with the Bucs. So that's
crazy to say. That's crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm. It's wild. It's absolutely wild, but I completely agree with you, Jibs. So, all right, John, what do we got for yours?
I'm going to go back into the Falcons-Rams game and say Marcus Mariota. I know that he produced a little bit with his legs. I know that he's got that, that rushing sort of allure and floor, but I just don't see a big game. I think the Falcons are really going to struggle with this Rams team. I think they're going to struggle with this Rams defense. The Rams are going to be buzzing like a bunch of bees and be pissed off, and they're going to take it out on the Falcons. So if the Falcons score, like I said, if the Falcons score 10 to 13 points, that'd be a good day for the Falcons. So I don't want any part of any pass catchers, the quarterback, anybody. So I'm going to say the whole engine falls apart and Marcus Mariota has a tough day.
Yeah, I like that. As long as he doesn't get that rushing floor, it could be really, really bad for Marcus.
Yeah. Oh, if he doesn't rush, if they stop the rush and him on the ground, then forget it. But because he's not going to throw for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's not going to do that. It's like the only place you could get it could backfire is if he gets 80 yards on the ground and a score on the ground. Then you're like, oh, Jesus. All right, well, then he only needs to throw for 100 yards, and you're like, oh, it's a decent day. So his rushing, but I think that the front of the Rams is going to be able to contain him and hold him in.
Okay, I like it there a lot. All right, so for my last one, the QB bust, guys, I'm going Trey Lance. Everyone's giving Cherry Lance the mulligan for week 1 because of the rain and whatnot, but it is supposed to possibly rain again in Santa Monica or Santa Clara, wherever they play. Again this weekend, it's like an 85-90% chance it rains again.
Bummer for poor Trey.
And honestly, what I saw at his passing, what I was expecting for him this coming season, the 46% passing completions was terrible, and he needs to do better than that. And Seattle's defense, they kind of held the Broncos in check for the most part.
Mhm.
They didn't go off. Everyone's like, the Broncos are going to go nuts this year on offense. Well, they didn't really. And I don't know if the 49ers are much better than what the Broncos are giving you. You don't have your star running back anymore now. And now maybe George Kittle doesn't play again. Who knows? And it could just be another bad week for Trey Lance overall. So for me, Trey Lance is my other bust here. What did Kyle say? I benched Drake London everywhere last week. Probably wait one more week before I put the rookie in my lineup. I benched him too, Kyle, so I respect it.
I played him.
Huh?
I played him in a 3 wide receiver league. He was my flex.
That wasn't terrible. I like that. But yeah. All right. So let's quickly do our rapid fire rounds here, guys. Real quick. Just whoever I pick, say that person or this person. We'll start with some tight ends. Albert O or Tyler Higbee?
That person.
Tyler Higbee. All right.
I'm going to say
Albert O. Okay.
Albert O, huh? I think I'll take Higbee.
I'll take Higbee as well. Cole Kmet, Hunter Henry.
Cole Kmet, I guess.
Cole Kmet.
I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up on Cole Kmet quite yet.
All right. Pat Freiermuth or Zach Ertz?
Oh, Freiermuth.
Pat
Freiermuth, yeah.
No, I might go Zach Ertz, actually. All right, let's go to some quarterbacks here. Matthew Stafford or Kirk Cousins?
Ooh. I'm going to say Kirk Cousins, just because, look, the Lions move the ball on the Eagles pretty well. I think the Vikings have much better talent on offense, so it's going to be a high-scoring game, and Kirk's going to benefit.
Yeah, I respect it. I'm going Stafford, though, still. Going Stafford. Derek Carr or Matt Stafford?
Oh, man, that's another tough one. Shit.
I might go Derek Carr this time, though. Going to Carr, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do Derek Carr.
I'll go Carr as well.
Yeah. Joe Burrow or Derek Carr?
Ooh.
Derek Carr. I feel like Joe Burrow is not going to have
Derek Carr.
no volume this week. They're just going to beat the crap out of him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Aaron Rodgers or Carson Wentz?
Oh, Wentz, baby.
Oh man.
Wentz-me.
Oh man. I'm gonna go with Aaron Rodgers, but it's a legit question.
All right. Trey Lance or Tom Brady?
I'm gonna go Tom. I'm gonna assume some weapons get a little healthy, and Tom's gonna not be totally screwed.
I'll take my floor of 15 points.
I'll take it. All right. Let's see here. Some running backs now. All right. Antonio Gibson or James Conner? I'm going Gibson still.
Gibson, that matchup's juicy.
Yeah, I'll go Gibson.
Yeah. Josh Jacobs or Zeke?
Oh, Josh Jacobs by a mile.
Yeah,
Jacobs. The Cardinals game is going to be a higher scoring game, so I'll take Josh Jacobs in that game.
All right. Javonte Williams or Darrell Henderson?
Javonte.
Yeah, I'll do
Javonte still, but I want to bring some Henderson because everyone on Sleeper has him projected crazy amounts. So
I don't know why.
Henderson or Dylan?
Ooh.
Probably going Dylan still, fortunately.
I might go Henderson, to be honest. Akers did not look good, man. He might be relegated to a real small role. And then if you get 15 touches, if Henderson gets 15, 16, 17 touches in that offense, that means a lot.
All right. Chase Edmonds or Miles Sanders? Sticking with Sanders still.
Yeah. They're both kind of. I'll go Miles Sanders.
I'm going Edmonds.
I'm going to chase that touchdown. I'm going to chase the touchdown and chase the points.
Jeff Wilson or Dave Montgomery?
Oh, Jeff Wilson.
I
can't believe how fast I said that.
Yeah, I'll take Jeff.
All right. Miles Sanders or Cornell Patterson?
I'll do Miles Sanders.
Sanders.
For sure. Travis Etienne or Rashad Penny? Penny.
I'll take
Penny.
Even with
Yeah,
Walker.
Penny. I don't think Ken Walker's back yet, so I'll say Penny.
All right. Let's do some wide receivers here. We'll finish up for the night. All right. Brandon Cooks or DJ Moore?
Cooks.
CeeDee Lamb or
Whoever.
DK Metcalf?
DK Metcalf.
DK, give me that Gino.
Yeah.
All right. CeeDee Lamb or Michael Thomas?
Michael Thomas.
Thomas. All right. Christian Kirk or Allen Robinson?
Kirky.
Yeah, I'll go
Even
Christian
though
Kirk.
they're hyping him up.
Kirk for sure. Jerry Jeudy or Christian Kirk?
I'm
choose
still going to say Christian Kirk. I think the volume is really there with Christian Kirk.
Right.
Kirk.
Like it. All right. A couple more down here. Devonta Smith or Amari Cooper?
No shows.
Yeah, seriously.
Smith rebounds.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yep. I'll go Smith.
Elijah Moore or Darnell Mooney?
I'll do Elijah.
Moore. Yep.
More.
Rashad Bateman or Elijah Moore?
I'll do Elijah.
I agree. Hunter
Bateman.
Ren. What'd you say?
Bateman. I was being a disagreeing guy.
Let's see. Hunter Renfrow or Drake London?
Oof.
I'll take London.
Yeah, I'll take the upside of London.
Same. Let's see here. One or two more. Jahan Dotson or Julio, if he plays.
If Julio plays, I think I'll take my chance with Julio. They did a couple deep shots with Julio. I think that's going to be his sort of MO. And again, kind of like you just need one or two big plays from Julio, and it's makes your day. So,
right.
Take my chance with Julio.
Same.
All right, and one last one here, real quick: Gabriel Davis or Cortland Sutton?
Sutton.
I'll say Gabe Davis.
Love Davis. All right, guys. So that is going to wrap up our show today. That's our starts and sits for week 2, guys. Hopefully, we all score a 9 out of 9 or 9-0 finish for the week here. So we thank you guys all for listening. Coach Don, anything you want to mention before we get going?
Nope, I got nothing. I'm excited for this fantasy week. Good luck in your matchups. Hit me up on Twitter if you need any last-minute start-sit decisions. And that's it, yeah.
All right, Coach Jibbs.
Download our sponsors app over there. Oh, I did it wrong again.
That way.
Yeah. Please do.
No house advantage, guys. Download the app
house
today.
advantage.
Promo code coaches. Use it, guys. All right. And of course, as always, you go check out our website at www.thefantasycoaches.com. We got articles popping up daily. We have a weekend recap. We have a DFS article going out now. We have my waivers to roster article out there. We have some things going on. We have the dynasty coaches going every Wednesday. Of course, we're going Mondays and Thursdays. Our rankings are out there with the famous Coach Jibbs ranking number 14th in the week. His rankings will be out there on the website. And as always, you can follow all of our content update on Twitter at Coaches Fantasy. And again, we'll be here Sunday, guys, or any day of the week you guys need fantasy questions to help us out. Just message us on Twitter, and we'll gladly help you guys out. And until next time, guys, we'll be back Monday to start week 3. Hopefully you guys have a good week 2. Until then, guys, have a good one.